The next big Madden 23 update is about a week away, so let's talk about what we can expect and what we've been hearing about. And with the game in such a fragile state right now, this is a really make or break update for the game as a whole. Obviously, we got to talk about the game modes that are still not working and are having even more problems, it seems like, than the last time I made a video. There's a ton of gameplay balancing that is desperately needed in the game, and there's still some new things that we've been waiting for that should be coming. And as always, if you never want to miss out on any of these updates, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you don't miss any of these important videos. So first, we got to talk about the game modes that are still broken and still having more issues. Now, in my last video, I talked about how franchise mode was broken yet again, and EA put out a post that said that they anticipate losing 60% of the leagues. Now, when I did make that video, I was a little confused by their wording when they put out the update, and I thought it meant 60% of all leagues in total, but what they actually meant was 60% of the corrupted leagues, which, make no mistake about it, is still a ton of leagues, but I did want to just amend that because obviously 60% of the corrupted leagues is not as bad as 60% of all leagues in the game, but it's still a ton of leagues that people are going to be losing. Now, they said 40% of the leagues would be able to be salvaged. I don't know if all of those have actually been saved just yet. I think they're probably still working on it. Some people I've heard have been able to get back into their leagues, but if you're in that 40%, you're pretty lucky. If you're in the 60%, obviously you're probably just done with the game at this point because there's no reason to restart another franchise if you have no faith that they can keep it working, because this has been an ongoing problem all year, and it really hit the fan with this last breakdown where they lost 60% of the leagues. And Ultimate Team is still having a ton of issues as well. Much like franchise mode, there's been one issue after another all year with Ultimate Team. There's still people, I believe, that are locked out from Christmas, but I heard that some people have been able to get back in. I think that most people are probably able to get back into Ultimate Team now, but there are still some players suffering and waiting for EA to fix it completely. Also, today there was another promo drop in Ultimate Team that had a ton of issues as well. With every promo that's released this year, there's been issues with either packs, rewards, sets, one thing or another, and it's been so consistent that some players are saying that they believe it's being done on purpose at this point, and I'm not going to go that far, but with as many issues as we've had in both franchise and Ultimate Team this year, I mean, it does seem like it. It's just crazy how consistent the issues have been in those game modes. Usually, the issues are gameplay related. This year, it's more so in the modes, and it's really frustrating both communities because they can't consistently play the game. So with this next update, I'm sure they're going to be trying to address some of those issues, but a lot of these game mode issues are still server related, which means they can put those updates through at any time. I think they have fixed some of the franchise and Ultimate Team issues, but there are still some players who are locked out or who can't get back in. And I'm even hearing some people saying even offline franchises giving them problems, because most of the franchise issues, I believe, are cloud/online leagues, but I'm even hearing some of the offline leagues, people are having trouble getting kicked out and stuff like that as well. So a lot of stuff needs to be fixed, but at this late in the year, if you haven't given up on the game yet, I don't really know what to tell you, but this could be the last chance that EA has to maybe keep you around. Now, what else we can expect in this update is a lot of gameplay balancing. I've talked about some of this in previous videos, but I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth in this one about it. Basically, the meta of the game are the most powerful tactics, the most effective tactics that people use. The same formation, same plays, same defenses, same little glitches or whatever. Usually EA tries to balance these things throughout the year, and this year coming into Madden 23, they said that they wanted to do this even more often. They wanted to have dedicated updates to balancing the meta, and they have not done that at all this year, mainly because there's been so many other issues with the game modes, and I think they even lost some people to the NCAA game, so they're probably even more short-staffed, I guess you could say, in terms of Madden. So I think those are two reasons why they haven't really been able to do much gameplay balancing, but this is supposed to be one of the big gameplay balancing updates where you're going to see a lot of stuff addressed. So right now there are new loot blitzes that have even become popular in the game, not the same way that they were when the game first dropped, but there are new loot blitzes that have become very popular online, and I would expect those to be situated. I even posted about the new loot blitzes on my Patreon page. If you do want to check it out, it's where I posted my higher level Madden strategies, tips, and even some of the glitches in the game to a much smaller community because I don't want them to get as widespread if I post them on this channel, but I did post about it there because it is something that is popular right now, and it is a really good defensive tactic, but it is something that EA really should be looking to fix. Obviously, man defense is still pretty powerful, not as good as it used to be. It's definitely gotten worse, so I don't know if they're going to touch it too much, but knowing EA, they might make it completely useless, so that's something to look out for. Man blitzes are still very effective, but that's mostly because the offensive line is still not very good. That's also another reason why the loot blitzes have kind of come back in a different way. The offensive line is definitely definitely still in need of some work, and I think that could be one of the things they look to try to make better, because it's been one of the worst parts of gameplay all year. So with the man blitzes, they're still very popular because the O-line is bad, not so much because man defense is good. Man defense is still better than playing zone defense, but man isn't as powerful as it had been in the past few months. It definitely took a little step back with the last update, but it's still the most effective way to play defense, blitzing out of man coverage or mixing in a lot of coverage with man being the base of the defense, because it's still going to give you better defense this year than zone. Abilities are also something that needs a lot of work, more so for the online modes, not necessarily offline, but there's a lot of ability balancing that's definitely needed for Ultimate Team with the AP points that are allotted to certain abilities and to the offense and defense. That's something they really should have been handling a while ago. Not sure why they haven't yet, but that's something I expect them to do in this update from what I've been hearing. And there's even some ability glitches that really should be looked at. I don't know if they're gonna go after them, but there's one in particular that I actually posted on my Patreon earlier today. It's a crazy ability glitch that if you combine a couple of abilities, it's just one of the most effective tactics in the game. It's not very well known, so it might not be something they look to fix yet, but it could become more widespread as more people find out about it, and it's something that I think always should be fixed. If there's ability glitches or just overpowered abilities, you should want to balance them, and with this being the gameplay balancing update, that should be something they're looking to do. But like I said, I did post it on my Patreon if you do want to check it out. It's a very, very, very powerful tactic that's worth knowing, but it is something ultimately that I think they should be looking to fix. And of course, aggressive catching is still pretty powerful. I don't think it's as good as it was earlier in the year, because I think people have kind of figured out some ways to slow it down, but it is still a really good tactic that a lot of people are using. And I think with the abilities that we just talked about, some of the abilities being powerful is what makes aggressive catching even better. So they really could probably fix a lot of this if they just balance the abilities a little bit better, which they should be looking to do, because usually they do this at least once a year, and usually it has been done by this point of the year, but because they haven't really balanced the game yet, the abilities that have been overpowered all year are still very powerful, and they need to look into them. So this is probably the update where they'll finally be doing that, along with everything else gameplay related. Now, there's also been a rumor that something new could be coming to the game, but I'm not putting too much weight into that, just because I think there's so many issues with the game that I don't know that they're going to be looking to necessarily add something new. But it has been something they've done in the past after Christmas, with like the first big update around Christmas or after Christmas, because so many new people get the game. They try to add something new, whether it's some new custom way to play in Superstar KO or the Yard. And those are two modes that haven't really seen any love this year, so that is something that could potentially be coming, but again, I don't know. It's just a rumor, and it's something that had consistently happened in years past. There is going to be more player likeness obviously coming to the game. They've been pretty good about that this year. That's one of the things they've been better about, is pretty much every update adding more player likeness updates to the game and new face scans to the game. So I think that is something that they're going to continue doing. New equipment is something else they've also been pretty consistent with this year and last year, and there's still a ton of equipment that people have been asking for. I know there's some new Axiom helmets that people have been begging for, and they put some of them in the game earlier this year, but there's still some newer ones that fans have been asking for, so that could potentially be coming as well, because that's one of the bigger things equipment wise that's still needed. Playbook updates is another thing that they could be looking to do, because they usually do a couple of these a year, and they've only done one so far this year, and it happened a few months ago, so they're kind of around that time frame now where they could be looking to add more plays on offense and on defense to the game. It's something that they say that they want to do more often, but it seems like they never actually do it more often. They kind of just do it a couple times a year, and it's usually two smaller updates. And since we already got one, I do think the second one is about to come as well, but they really could be doing a lot more with playbooks if you ask me. Now, if you want to know more about what's going on currently with franchise mode, if you missed that video, you can check it out right here on the screen.